Good morning, all. Greetings. So we are in unit number 2, cost estimation and accounting, under the subject process planning cost estimation. So in previous lectures, we discussed extensively about cost estimation. What are the functions? What are the components? What are the importance of that? And what are the elements available and procedures? Right. So in this lecture, we are going to discuss about costing and cost accounting. So costing or cost accounting completely different from cost estimation. Cost estimation occur before we are doing any process or production process. We need to estimate each and every uh, cost going to occur in future for our production or for our manufacturing. That is what cost estimation. So prior to making something, we need to do something. That is what our cost estimation. But cost accounting is after we done the complete process, determining the actual cost occurred. It's not going to occur. What is the actual cost occurred or incurred for making that particular process or product is called costing or cost accounting. So it is the process of determining the actual cost of a product by considering all expenses incurred in different departments. So considering all expenses includes n number, direct expense, indirect expense. Under direct expense, you can have many individual cost like material cost, labor cost, right? And in terms of indirect cost also there with respect to material and labor. And expenses, direct expenses, indirect expenses also there. So including everything like determining and accounting every spent single money we have spent on that particular product process, we need to collect it and put together. We keep it. That process is called cost accounting or cost. Okay. So what are the key points about costing? Yes, it systematically records every expenses involved in manufacturing a particular product, and costing involves classifying and allotting expenses to determine product or service cost, helping in management and control. So what we are going to do that costing in the sense to management and control. So whether we are doing properly, we have done properly, where we can able to reduce something, or where we can able to improvise something on our manufacturing process, or where we can get more profit, how we can able to get more profit. So for example, we are setting some price for sales, but it goes fine, but still we could able to increase the profit. So for that we should know this costing. Well, similarly, if we decided to give some discount, how much percentage of discount we can able to give on our product? So we have to think. Okay, so some product with the seasonal discounts are coming, right? So they need to clearly do account every aspect, how much actual cost incurred to make that from different departments. They should collect together. That is what cost accounting. So it is a vital management tool that provides detailed cost records for products, operation, or functions. The main elements of cost include material, labor, and other expenses, which together form the total cost of a product. Okay, so this is what cost accounting. So what are the objectives of costing or cost accounting? Similar to our cost estimation, here also we have a n number of cost objective for cost accounting. Okay, so I don't want to take too much explanation for each and every term, because almost we covered that in our previous topic, but just I'll give a glimpse. So but you should understand the main difference, like this costing is after you done the process, after you completed the production. With that mind, you are understanding, or you are uh, concept under perception of this objectives, if you see, it will be better. Okay, so for example, cost determination. So identifies the actual cost of production. Okay, for example, in terms of same point, cost determination in our cost estimation, what identifies the actual cost? No, identifies the proposed cost or expected cost, like that will come, but it actually occurred. It's already done. The process is completed. So cost determination means identify the actual cost of production. So you have to be very, very careful in using those words. Then it will help us to fix the selling price, help set the right price for the products. If we don't have, if we are not setting right price for that selling product, we may be ending with loss. So in cost estimation, if you are making some error, it's different. Like comparatively, we have to like we should have some other alternative plans. But comparing with after it manufactured and sold, then we realize the price of the product could be higher in the sense no mean. Similarly, after estimation, after making and after selling with the lowest price if we sold, again we are going to end up with the loss. So fixing selling price is very, very important. For that we should calculate or collect or gather all the cost involved for making that product. Okay. Then if you want to do the cost control, so monitor all the expenses in order to prevent overspending. So until otherwise we are not done any tracking of expenses, sometimes we may end up with spending unnecessary money on some other activity. For example, for maintenance of machine, we might have spending lots of money. So if we then all will add to your expenses to make that particular product. Okay, so then we should check. Okay, why that machine is provide need lots of cost for doing maintenance and all. Then better to replace instead of for long term. Simply we are doing maintenance. It's not going to add any value to the company, or it will cause lots of unnecessary expenses only, because all that maintenance and all comes under indirect expenses. It's not direct expenses. Okay, so that for that we need to monitor and prevent the overspending. Then comparison with the estimate. So we done estimation and we need to ensure whether what we estimated is good or bad with that actual thing, so that we can able to improvise our cost accounting method, like a comparison method. We have checked comparison method, right? In the comparison method means we already have some kind of estimation. Again, if we have a costing, then we have to compare between our estimation and what actually happened. Then we can able to improvise our cost estimation in future. Okay, so that for that also we need. So that is also one of the objective in order to make our buy decision, decide whether we need to do the manufacturing or outsource for that. Because actual cost we know, then we can be able to decide whether we can make or buy. Then wastage reduction and changes in design are profit and loss. And also fixing the discount. If you want to do the discount fixing, it can determine price reduction strategy. It will give some idea for us pricing policy and budget preparation. And if you want to go for any tender or quotations, it will also help. Then what is the target, output target? Ensure optimized production level in order to make a proper production level. It will be helpful. Then legal provision and purchasing machines and plants. So these are all the basic objectives of costing and cost accounting. So you should understand one thing clearly, like there's a difference between cost accounting and cost estimation. So with that understanding, if you uh, go in detail about this objectives, it will be more easier. Okay. So the difference between cost estimation and cost accounting is it's no need to explain further much. Just to I summarized in few way. So with respect to objective, what is the objective of cost estimation? Means it's occur before production So objective of cost estimation is predicts cost for decision making. So it will predicts, but here record and analyze actual cost occurred. That is what cost accounting. Then time of use done before production starts, done during or after. It can be cost accounting can be done during the production or after the production also. But cost estimation needs to be done before the production starts. Okay. What is the purpose? Helps in budgeting and pricing. Mostly the priority. Even cost accounting helpful for budgeting, for tenders and all, and for selling price fixing also. But comparatively, it helps. Cost estimation helps in budgeting and pricing, but cost accounting in terms of helps in cost control and profitability analysis. Primary, both it can also budgeting and pricing also can be here under costing for purpose. But primary purpose is comes under budgeting and pricing, comes under cost estimation. Then data use. What are the data? Based on assumptions, past data, and market trends. Yes. So, like a comparison method, we used past data, right? So, similarly, market trend also. Market trend in the sense maybe experts, like a conference method. If you consider conference method, they with that market trend analysis, they will be having some idea, and with that, and also with their experience, they will go with some assumptions. So that is what those are all the data input for your cost estimation. But in terms of costing, so you will be having actual cost incurred during the production process or manufacturing process. Then flexibility, estimated values may change with market condition. Yeah, the inflation point we should remember. Even material or material cost if you consider, or labor cost if you consider, or electricity charges, other expenses, it may vary depends on market condition or government policies and also that flexibility needed. But in terms of costing and cost accounting, it's fixed because it actually incurred already happened. So just we need to uh, account there is what are all the expenses occurred. So it's kind of flexibility wise, it's fixed. But in terms of cost estimation, it's a flexibility you have. Then scope, it is used for planning and bidding for cost estimation. That is what like a tender tender quoting and we need cost estimation. But costing or cost accounting used for control, audit, and decision making. So these are all the main difference between cost estimation and cost accounting. So what are all the methods of costing or cost accounting are there? Okay, similarly, we saw various methods in cost estimation. Here we are discussing about methods of costing or cost accounting. So one is the first one is job order costing or order costing. So this is used for calculating cost for individual jobs or contracts. Okay, depends on individual jobs. We have to prepare. For example, shipbuilding industry, construction, machine manufacturing, or fabrication. Shipbuilding, it like mass production are possible. Even batch production is not possible in shipbuilding and also unique product they make it, right. So that's why it depends on individual jobs or contracts. Similarly, machines like a big heavy duty machines you consider, simply they won't make it in n number. Depends on the demand they will make. So that's what machine manufacturing and fabrication. So used for calculating cost for individual jobs or contracts. Total cost for each order is recorded on daily cost sheet. So every day what is happening, they'll do like a huge what is the steel companies and all, they make some structures for demands. So they will be doing job costing, order based costing they do. Batch costing, as I said, some group of batches, the variation of job costing where group of identical items is considered as one batch. So you know what is meant to be mass production, you know what is meant to be batch production. So here batch, for that this batch casting useful, and used for also used for mass production. So batch casting useful for group of identical component. For example, if you have a cylindrical component with the length by diameter ratio with the different sizes. For example, length by diameter ratio is 2 and length by diameter ratio is 10, length by diameter ratio is 20. Like that, if you have a variation, according to the variation, your selection of machinery, selection of your processes may differ, right? Our cycle time may differ. So we have to have a group or batches. We will be dividing one category is L by D ratio, or other like a cylindrical component or prismatic component, or like a rectangular component or hexagonal component. Like that, shape wise, we can able to classify the component into groups or batches. So based on the batches, if we are setting some costing, that is, and also mass production with a similar product, like a same component being manufactured in n numbers with a huge volume, then it comes under mass production, right? Without much changes in the features. So if there is a small changes in the feature, maybe it will goes under different batch production. So for mass production also, the batch casting is involved. Then process casting. So depends on what are the sequence of processes available and how many number of processes included. For example, like oil refining industry, cement, chemical and paper industry, process costs are important. Okay, so because it goes under various stages of process. Okay, it won't directly comes with like you put something in your machine in one end, another end you will be getting output. It goes to various stages, right? So that is comes under process. So suitable for industry where a standard product is made with multiple sequential process. That is, remember, you should remember that it should be a sequential process. Then it is called, it comes under process casting. And costs are calculated at each stage of production for stage by stage. For example, sheet metal making company, what they do, so from raw material or from the earth or nature, they get some raw material like sand with particles with metals and all. They filter it out, then they put it under the furnace, and after furnace they will be getting molten metal. Then they pour it like in casting machine with a they will create like a billet and slabs and all. Then they will send it under rollers in order to get the different cross section with the small thickness, like a continuous roller mill will be sent. Then finally they will get sheet metal in the small thickness, right? So these are the stages. But like filtering that sand particles, segregating that is one process. Heating and the furnace is another process. Casting is another process. Sending that billets or slabs under roller will be having different stages. Then finally you will be getting sheet metal, right? So all this process comes at stages of production. That, but again, it's a sequential process. So there, what all the cost occurred. So if we account everything, then it comes under process costing. Then departmental costing determines the cost per department, each and every department. For example, painting department, how much cost happened, inspection department, how much cost, or casting department or machining department, how much cost. But it's for the standardized product, because standardized product will be having the standardized set of protocols of manufacturing, a set of procedures to manufacture, right? So that particular standardized product will be having task under each and every department. So that there, if we calculate cost accounting, then it comes under departmental uh, costing. So each department expenses are recorded separately. It's then finally they put together and they do. But again, in department wise, they will check whether we have done over spending, like where we can able to reduce the cost of making everything. If they need to know, then department wise they need to do some cost accounting. So that's why it comes under departmental costing. Then operating cost or service costing. So used for service-based industries like a transport, water supply, electricity, and railway department kind of thing, right? So this is used for costing, like maybe in hospitals or comes under operating cost or service costing. Units of service, how much the units of service, like how much per kilometer and how much kilowatt hour we have used, like that. So this all comes under service costing. Then unit cost method for single type of product and used for single type of product. Then multiple cost method, combination of multiple methods. Some industry need process costing, some industry need unit cost method, some industry need departmental costing, some industry need job costing. So put together according to the need of the product, if we combine multiple cost method, then we that is comes under multiple cost method. So generally, if we want to say cost accounting, it's people are doing cost accounting, but depends on the nature. They divide that like whether it's a single component or that the product has multiple stages, and again it's a sequential. Whether the product is a standardized product, are we doing batch production, or are we planning with the mass production, and then whether it's a service based costing. So it depends on that we can able to categorize the methods of costing. Okay, then classification of costing. So major classifications, one is based on elements. Elements are components of cost. What is that elements? In the sense material cost, labor cost, overhead charges. So I don't know to explain further more about material cost here. Maybe in future slides also we'll be discussing about a little more. So material cost, labor cost, and overheads. Material cost, cost of raw material used in production, and labor cost is wages and salaries paid to the workers. Again, here you have direct and indirect, but mainly I'm talking about labor cost, direct wages and salaries paid to the workers because they directly involved on the product. Then overhead charges, indirect costs like rent, utilities, electricity bill, maintenance charges comes under overhead charges. That is based on elements. But based on functions, how we can able to classify the cost. So that is what purpose of cost, right? What purpose? For production, for administration, for selling, for overhead. So these are all the purpose. Production cost means cost of manufacturing a product. Administrative cost means expenses for managing and running the business. And selling cost is for marketing or distribution of the component or sales related expenses comes under selling cost. And overhead cost, indirect cost involved in production and operations. So this all comes under cost only, but based on function we are categorizing like this, and based on elements we categorize like material cost, labor cost, and overhead cost. Then based on variability or how the cost behaves, like behavior wise, the cost can be classified into three. One is fixed cost, and another one is the variable cost and semi-variable cost. What is fixed cost? Cost that remain constant regardless of production level. Example, rent. Rent of our building fixed. Mostly like 1 year, 2 year, they fix, right? It won't change according to particular product or production, irrelevant for the product, right? So fixed cost that remain constant regardless of the production levels. Whether you make 1,000 components, whether you make 100 components, or you make 1 million, the cost will be fixed. That renting person, they won't say, oh, you are making only 100 product, okay, you give this rent. So after, oh, you are started making 1 lakh of product, you give more rent. No, they know the value of the business, then accordingly they will fix the price. But like routinely, like maybe they make a contract for 5 years or 2 years or 3 years, something like that. After that, revise. But within that period, they won't change anything. In between the period, they won't change. So that is fixed cost. Variable cost, that cost change with production level. Like raw materials definitely changes. Raw material not necessarily the same price, depends on demand. It will be, but sometime market price may increase. For example, in hotels and all, vegetables, tomatoes, potatoes, raw vegetables and all, they're buying, right? So market trend increases for the raw material. Raw material for them is this kind of vegetables, right? It changes always in the market. Okay, so sometimes they may go with a small, lesser price per kg. Sometimes price may go high if like growth is not good or some other natural like rainy seasons, and the price naturally will go higher, right? So that is comes under variable cost. Semi-variable cost, cost with both fixed and variable component like electricity depends on the rate, tax, traffic. They may change, increase. So based on variability, we can able to classify the cost, and based on direct and indirect nature, whether that cost is directly influencing or traceable on your product or not. So direct cost directly traceable to your product. Example, raw materials and wages, direct. Indirect cost is cost not directly linked to your product. Like example, factory rent and supervision is not directly. Whether we make product or not, we must pay rent, we must have supervision charges and all. We can't say that, oh, I am not doing any production today. There is no need of supervisors and all. And but again, same question may come like labor charges. Yes, until otherwise we are not using them properly, loss only for us. So, but labor charges comes under direct cost. But the supervision factory rent comes under indirect cost. So based on direct or indirect nature, we can able to classify them as a direct or indirect. Then based on capital revenue, capital cost, investment in assets like machineries and building, then revenue costs, day-to-day operational expenses like salaries and raw materials will come under your revenue cost. So this is how the cost can be classified. So based on elements and based on functions, based on variability, based on direct and indirect nature, and based on capital and revenue. So same cost only, but we are categorizing and putting under different heading for classifying the cost. The difference between elements of cost and components of cost. So elements of cost, what the cost is spent on, like a material, labor, and overhead. So this is all the cost spent on material. That is elements of cost. But how it differ with the components, how the cost is structured, whether the cost is structured under prime cost or factory cost or total cost. So if we consider prime cost, we might have discussed like a material cost, labor cost, like a direct material, direct labor, direct expenses comes under your prime cost, right? But prime cost is a component. Under the prime cost, you have elements like material cost, labor cost, and other elements. But prime cost is the structure. So that is why it's a components of cost. Okay, you should remember clearly between the elements versus components. Okay, don't confuse. So elements of cost, as I said, material cost, labor cost, overhead cost comes under major elements, particularly in all overhead charges, indirect costs like rent, electricity, maintenance. In terms of manufacturing a chair, the wood cost of the wood is material cost. Then carpentry's wages, person who is doing the carpentry work, that will become under labor cost. And factory electricity bill comes under overhead cost. So elements of cost, what the cost is spent on material, labor, and overhead. The same thing with the components. As I said, components is the structure. Okay, cost structure. Components of cost refers to the detailed breakdown to cost, total cost into contributing parts based on the cost structures and accounting perspective. In what way we are accounting that perspective comes. So where, as I said, prime cost, factory cost, and total cost comes under three major components of cost. So what is prime cost? It's a direct cost. As I said, prime cost is a direct cost, which includes direct material cost, direct labor cost, direct expenses. Expenses included, but that expenses should be direct. So that is what prime cost. But factory cost include prime cost. Prime cost is altogether these three plus factory overheads. The factory overhead can be considered as the indirect expenses. So direct expenses only needs to be considered in direct cost or prime cost. But under factory cost, we should consider both prime cost, including that direct expenses plus factory overhead considered as a indirect expenses. But total cost or cost of production equal to factory cost plus administrative and selling overheads. Okay, these are all the expenses also needs to be added with your factory cost. Then only we can able to get the total cost. So example for manufacturing a business, direct cost is the raw material, wages of machines, operator is the direct cost. So here I am not splitting into labor cost or material cost or direct expenses, something like that. Direct cost means material also included, labor also included. No? That is what direct cost. But factory overheads is like a will be added with your prime cost, then you can able to get the factory cost, right? What are the factory overheads? Rent, maintenance, depreciation of machines also will be considered factory overheads. Then selling and distribution overheads comes under for advertisement or transportation. So how the cost is structured, this is what components of cost. So this is your cost ladder or cost structure chart. I think we'll continue this cost ladder and cost structure in the coming lecture. Okay, thank you.